Well, good morning, YouTube. In my case, it's evening. This is a Vevor MX600A lathe. Now, I've been using this thing about a year. As you can see, there's quite a bit of dirt and chips and trash here. I kind of got me a shelf up here with my bits and accoutrements and bobs. And what I'm going to do here is I've got a 5/8 piece of steel rod. I make these adapters to make a stock small block Mopar distributor for the early Hemi. So these got to be turned down about 1.5 inches long, and there's about a little over 1/2 inch. This got to be turned down to exactly 500 thousandths, 1/2 inch, and then they need a 1/2 inch hole drilled in here. Now, this is not ground round, so whenever I turn the lathe on here, I can see it's moving. Now, what I've done, I've built a little thing out of a set of bits. It's just a bearing that's in here, and what I do with that bearing, I just run it over here to right in here somewhere. And all that does is just make a much better job of centering it. I tighten this up real good. This is the original key. I've got another one, and we should be able to. Yeah, it's running pretty true right now. So this is one of the little things I made. Next thing I got to do is I got to get in here, and I'm going to use a center drill. I find that the big ones work the best for me. Now this little carriage here is pretty sloppy, but when I get it in pretty close to where I want it, I lock the carriage down, and now it'll bite pretty good. So I'm going to center drill it. Pulling real nice. There's that. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a live center in it, so I can turn this short piece here. Just run that up there, hold it down, tighten. So now I can machine the end of this, and it'll hold it in one place. Normally you knock your chips off the end here before you go doing that. And I'm going to use a center. I've got a big tip here, and I'm going to cut this down to 1/2 inch. And the reason I've got this I'm going to have to move that tail piece back a little. it in. So I can get that tip up into the up into the workpiece. See there, I'm trying to pick up the whole thing and not hit my live center. Now I'm going to have to turn this down at the end 1.25 inches. So I just put a ruler in here. I'm going to about 1.25 inches. That's about right there. And now I'm going to I got to turn this piece down to that's 1 full turn. I don't know what that is. It's in metric stuff. I'm going to bump the speed up here. About 600. Got about 820 right now. Give myself plenty of room. Now that was 1 turn on the cross slide. I'll just measure this real quick. I got digital caliper, but the battery's not digitizing. So this is down to 525, about 530. So I got to take about quite a bit off. I got to get it down to 500. Set on fine feed, it's making a pretty nice cut. Get my thing out of the way. Check it again for size. And I've got about 510 right now, so I got to take 10 thousandths off. So each one of these marks here is 1.6 thousandths. I've got to take 10, so what I'm going to do is turn this in 1.5, 3, 4.5, 5.5, 6, about 7 thousandths. Run that thread in. Does a pretty nice finish here, nice and shiny. Now I'm at about 1/1000 too fat, so I'm just going to run a spring pass. check this real quick. This is not super critical. And looks like I'm about a half a thousandths under right now. So now this is cut to ½ inch. That's all I have to do. Now I've made this about 3/4 of an inch long. This is going to go in a 392 hemi, so it's 4½ inches. So that's about 3/4, 7/8 or so. So this is going to be long enough for my adapter. It's not real critical where it goes, because before you put it on the shaft, you can always pin it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to drill that hole out. I think it's still showing you. And the first thing I do is put a pilot hole in here. This is about a 3/8 inch bit. What I'm doing on this, I've kind of got my metric to English, metric to whatever inches. And I just put that up in there. I set it at 10 millimeters and locked it down. Now I'm going to bore this out. The thing I found is that when you're boring, a good high speed seems to cut a lot better than something slow. So I'm running it up about 800 RPM. You see the pilot hole. Right there, it hit the end of it. Now I'm just going to take this to 40 millimeters, which is about 1 1/10. Here's 30. Chips are coming out nice. It's not bothering the motor at all. About 35. Stock back, take my bit out. Now at this point I'm going to hone it. I've got 2 hones. One of them is like a 490 and one's exactly ½ inch. I used the 490 one. This is an old one, so I can hone this thing out and not wear out my good bit. Run it into 10 millimeters again, bring it up to the thing. Honing, I use a little less speed. So I've done this about 600. Making it in slow. About 1 pound in 2 seconds. Up to 20 millimeters. Put my good precise ½ inch hole in here. Run it up to about 10. At this point, it doesn't make any difference. lock my tailstock. I'm going to run this one a little faster because I'm only taking out a few thousandths. And I'm turning this about 1 turn a second. 30, 35. And here hit the bottom. That's it for that. So this is taking a 1/2 inch hole out. One thing I don't like about it is this tailstock is aluminum, and I usually just whack my hones on there to knock the chips off, and it's kind of beating up my aluminum. At this point, that is all bored. I don't have a brush here somewhere. I know that this is exactly 1/2 inch hole in here, and next thing I need to do is polish it up. Use a high speed on that. That's nice and shiny. I've got a inside reamer here. I'm just going to put it in here real quick. Just deburr the inside of this so it'll go over the distributor shaft easy. The next thing I got to do is cut it off. Now I made me a cut-off tool here, and this is a 1/4 inch piece of tool steel, and I've got it clamped in there so it'll fit, and I've got it right on center, and I've got it just long enough to where I can take it in there. Wow, I'm close to that chuck. So that's pretty good. On a cut-off tool, I use a little less speed. I'm running about 400. I'm not using oil on it. That's came loose in that jaw of the chuck a little bit. Actually, I'm hitting the chuck. I want to back this out. Take this a little less, lock it down. Go again. There we go. And I'm going, a nice even slow speed here. Cutting this off until I get it down to where it's like an 1/8 of an inch. I'm looking at it, I can see what it's doing. Just chop it off real nice. Carry it and get it out of the way. So it made pretty short work of that. And something dropped down here in my chip file somewhere. Might be a little hot. Yes. Another one that I had made and cut off. I hadn't bored it yet. Lost it. Here it is. So here's the basic shape of the adapter. I did a good job of cutting off the end here. The distributor shaft will go down in here. I'll set it to the right length on the distributor, and then I'll bore it and pin it. Next step though is to take this over here to the milling machine and put flats on it. I'll show you how I do that. Anyway, that's this Vevor MX600A lathe. I'm not getting paid anything. This is not a promotion really. You can see I use this thing a lot, plus I'm in here grinding and doing bondo and everything else. So this is really not protected, but I haven't had any real problems with it. I was using the back of it here for bending pipe, believe it or not. I'd stick a piece of pipe in there and pull on it. I'm trying to make curves for this 29 Chrysler. And I shouldn't have done that. It was running really good until I bent a pretty good piece of steel in it. And then the head quit turning as well. But I readjusted the bearings and it fires right up now. It says it's supposed to run 1500, but it runs at 17. So that's good for this old lathe. It's I've been working it pretty regular for about a year now, so haven't had any real complaints. The only thing is this cross slide is made aluminum, so it flexes. You're not going to get any accurate heavy cuts, but you know, if you use it'll work fine for brass and copper and stuff like that. But I use, you know, I'm cutting a lot of steel with it, and so you just have to take your time. I did improve it. I put a flat thrust bearing under here so I can get a lot more pressure locking down my tool post. I've kept these pretty tight. I keep all of this stuff as tight as I can get away with, but basically it's a pretty decent little lathe. I don't know what I paid for it, $1,000, maybe a little more. It was really bad in the beginning. I had trouble getting it to even turn. You can see that video on YouTube. I'll put that in the playlist. But little Vevor lathe is working out pretty good. It's paid for itself already. Well, this is a antique. Probably made in the 40s. It's a Burke Horizontal milling machine. It's kind of cold out here in the shop. I've got this big motor on here, this little box thing on the bottom. It's a phase converter. So I can run it up. And this is a, see it there. This up here is a 90 degree vertical adapter. It just bolts in where the cross slide goes across, because this is supposed to be a horizontal mill. And I use this to machine these things down. That's pretty much all I use it for. Oh, I use it for lots of stuff, but that's its main purpose. Now I've got that little adapter I made. Knocking down the bias bed. tighten it up. Lower it. And I'll get it over here. And I'll just bring it up to where it just touches the top. I'll machine that little piece off of there. Come up on a vertical so it just touches. Middle, and I run this down here until it's not be hitting my machine here, my adapter. And what I'm going to do is fire it up, and then I'm going to move in slowly with it until it first touches. And I've got me a little DRO here that I put a slider in, and I'll set that to 0. I'm going to take this 3.5 turns. 1, 2, 3.5. So that's 350 thousandths. And it takes this in slowly until it touches. Right there. Set it at 0, and I need to take 170 thousandths off. cut, set my 0, now I need to take 172 again. Big cut. I don't like to load it That's it on that. Lock my vise good with a hammer. And here's my little adapter. It's got some rough edges on it, but this now should be a little under 160. We'll just run this down here and check it. Sorry for taking so long, but it takes as long as it takes. Alright, I got a click out of it. And that's 125. 150. Looks like that's about 150 thousandths. 160 is what I was shooting for, so it's about 10 thousandths under, which is good enough, because the stock one's 150. I make mine a little thicker, so it's good enough. Now I'll take a belt sander and sand this up, and I'll pin it, and then I'll measure it, put it into the distributor, make sure I got the right length, cut it off, pin it to the distributor, and we'll have a distributor that fit in an early 50s Hemi and work just fine with new modern ignition. So like and subscribe, guys. Appreciate you watching. Tell a friend. And just a little review of my little Vevor lathe. After a year, it's awfully dirty, but it still works good. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.